a lot of things in WordPress are difficult and might take you a couple years of PHP, understanding PHP, and then understanding WordPress PHP. And WordPress has its own extensive library of functions and features built into it that are really, really powerful, but to know all of those things is almost impossible. You'd have to be working on it all the time, and it's just going to take a lot of time to memorize those. So a big part of this course, like we said at the outset, is helping you identify resources and helping you to learn to think on your feet to be able to find this type of thing.
Well, when we started out in WordPress, we didn't want to take 3 years to be able to do something we felt like we should be able to do right away. So how did we get around that? How did we, make a way for ourselves? We're not, PHP back-end coders as our sole profession. We haven't spent, 4 years going to school to do PHP. So how do we get around that as a day-to-day problem in WordPress?
Yeah, and what you'll tend to do without taking a course like this, I think the problem you run into is just poor coding practice. You would just do things that are cause conflicts down the line that you wouldn't necessarily know about right away. And so we want to help you avoid that, and you always want to be looking for what's the best practice, what's the best way to approach this thing. And we're learning this stuff all the time. We're learning new ways and better ways to approach things. Just like showing you this OnQ style and OnQ script function that allows you to add things in properly. You don't know until you run into a problem what types of problem that might cause. So always look for the best practice and try your best to implement it. So in this case, we're not going to go into depth about the next section, which is how to create a logo uploader that's going to automatically populate the logo on your site, because using the WordPress customizer is a little bit intensive and takes a little bit of study to be able to understand. So we're just going to share with you the code. There's a wonderful resource and a wonderful article for learning how to do this, which I'll include a link to this website for you. And it's adding a logo uploader to your WordPress theme with Theme Customizer. And he goes into each specific section and kind of explains all of this stuff for you. But just reading this, you're still, unless you know PHP and know a little bit of WordPress, you're not going to know exactly what it's doing.
Right, and that's even with a full breakdown on what's going on. It's still, complicated.
Exactly. So for now, I'm going to show you what we're shooting for here. What we want, if we back out of here, and if you go in your WordPress administration area to the Customize option, the options you have are site title and tagline, and you can change your front page. So I can change this to something besides these, which aren't even displaying anywhere yet. What we want to be able to add is an option right here where somebody can come in and click logo, and they can upload a logo, and it automatically populates in this portion of the screen. So let's do that by using the code snippet that we've provided for you. We're going to grab the first part, which is the proper way to add a logo upload capability, and paste that all in.
And again, the real simple breakdown of this is, again, we're creating a function, right? We're not going to go into the function, it's a really long function, but we're creating a function that does what we want to do, and it's going to link into the Customize register, our function. So it's going to add that action into the hook that exists on the customizer.
Great explanation. In this customizer here, like we explained, there are action hooks within the header of our theme that we added there. They exist within this here too. Like, just to give you a visual example, imagine that there was a hook right here that we could add new tabs to.
Right.
We can add new functions within that. That's basically what we're utilizing right now to add a new element within there. It's going to add a new tab. So if we just save what we have here, and you can look at the code a little bit, but it's this is fairly complex and it's not something you're going to learn overnight. So I wouldn't really worry about it. Just worry about being able to paste this in correctly in your functions PHP and being able to find the resource when you lose it. Being able to be like, hey, how do I upload or add a logo upload capability in WordPress? If you Google that, you're always going to come across the answer.
And if you're an independent WordPress developer, it'd be wise to keep a file with all of your code snippets labeled and ready to go. I have about 100 of them that I'll use every different day, doing something like, oh man, how do I put a logo in there? I'm not going to remember how to type this code from scratch. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm just going to go and I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to understand what it does and how it works and how to use it.
Right. So let's go ahead and save this out of your functions PHP, and let's reload the Customize option, and you should get an option now for a logo upload. Now, what's going to happen if you upload the logo? Well, nothing's going to happen. You can upload it, and it'll save it there for you. But we haven't actually put it called that function from within our theme, which is what we have to do. So the second portion of this is the HTML portion that we're going to paste into our header, and that's going to actually output or call that function and output it as the logo on the top left part of the page or wherever we want it to go. So let's go into our header.php here, which I'm already at. And right now we have it at inside of this link here, we have the image source equals the logo. So let's actually just right below this, let's paste the new code. Let's get plenty of space in here, and we'll paste this new code. Make sure it's all lined up kind of properly. There we go. Okay, and very good idea at this point is to comment this out, because this is a big chunk of code, and the comments just need to explain what you're trying to accomplish. This is the section for allowing a logo upload. Okay, and so the function's all here. We do want to make sure that the class names are the same, right? So this link was called navbar brand, and if we look at the actual structure of this is called site logo, but then there's a link inside of it before the picture, and it doesn't have any class. It's got a bunch of other information, but it doesn't have a class. So let's just give it a class of navbar brand to make sure that the formatting is the same. Now, real quick to just show you, and we don't need this anymore, we're going to delete that out. Okay, to show you what this is doing, this is an if statement, excuse me, an if statement, which if statements are very, very common in PHP or any coding language. Basically, it's saying if we have a logo, put the logo here, but then it's giving us an else. Else, if you don't have the logo, go ahead and put an H1 and list us the site title, which is pulling, again, from the customizer, actually, or from the WordPress settings area. And then also put the site description as an H2 below that.
Right, so if we're going to have a logo in here, we don't necessarily need the if-else statement. We could just do this as a blanket statement. But we're going to have the if-else in there. That way it gives us a backup in case something goes wrong with that logo.
Or yeah, exactly. That's a good idea to have. Otherwise, it's going to be blank or whatever else. So it'll at least have a name there. And the logo upload. Okay, save these changes out. And let's go back to our customizer. Okay, so now we have this big chunky H1 and H2 that are listed here. And you have the logo upload option. So go ahead and upload your logo, which is in your image folder for this theme, and it's just called logo.png. Wait for a second. There we go. We've got a logo. And it is clickable. It's a link that goes back to the home page. So let's save and publish that. And that's pretty much it for this portion. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave them in the comments. Or go through this guy's website and kind of read through to get a better idea of what exactly it is. Again, we're going to leave links to all of our code snippets that we use, so you have an example of how they're used, and can kind of look through it yourself and figure it out. We'll go on next to getting the menu set up.